All right, we are officially calling the March 12th, 2025 Historical Commission meeting to order. All right. First item, review and approval of February 2025 minute meetings. Minutes, come on.
I have no comments on the minutes.
Make a move.
I motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor? You say that.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay. That passed, right? Okay.
Yes.
Treasurer's report from Tom. Tom didn't really have anything to report. The only money that we spent last month was an additional $2,000 payment for the ground penetrating radar. That's a 3-payment situation. So we've made 2 of the 3 payments, and that comes out of the community fund. All right. Existing business updates. Quarterly goals review. Joe, you want to take a lead?
Yeah. So Cathy and I, beginning of the year, we set our objectives for the year, and Cathy and I took the opportunity to sit down and kind of review where we were. There's actually, 3 of them that absolutely need to be done this year. And that is the historic resource survey, because the money's only good till then. It is the Patterson Farm grant. I'm sorry, the Slate Hill Cemetery grant. And it is America 250, because it's next year. So there you go. So what we would like to do is make sure that everyone on the commission is working on one of those 3 projects, because we don't feel like we have enough resources, that they're moving fast enough. I mean, to Cathy's point, when you have money and you're not spending money, that also says you're not really progressing on your projects either, because it was the Slate Hill Cemetery Keystone Preservation Grant. Okay. So we'll kind of go through where we are. So let's start with the historic resource survey. So Jeff is leading that. I am helping Jeff with that. Dave, I understood that you also. Okay, Dave's going to help. I also recruited Tom to help. And so we have those 4 people that are working on that. And of course, we're engaging Jeff Marshall to do the field work, and that should be starting. If it hasn't already started, it should be starting within the next weeks. On the second one, on the Slate Hill Cemetery grant, it's Monica, Cathy, and anyone else on the commission. I mean, and the volunteers, of course. Yes, but thank you. Okay. All right. On America 250, Mitch, you have the lead on that?
I do.
And who's working with you on that?
Helen, but we really haven't had much talk about it.
So you're working on America 250? Yes.
I think as we start to talk more about it, there's going to be the need, obviously, for other people to get involved and to do some of the work. The beginning now, we're doing the introductory, the legwork, that's fine. But once we find when it's going to be and when we're going to be involved, we're going to need more people to do it.
Okay. So then I would ask Jim and Victor, which of those enticing projects would you like to be joining for this year?
Can you just explain one more time these projects to me? I can understand.
So the historic resources is where we are collecting data about all of the properties in town pre-1900. And we have to collect that data, format that data, and put it into PA share. Okay. Monica, why don't you explain the grant? I mean, the Slate Hill Cemetery.
Yeah, the grant at Slate Hills is what we received last year. The work's to be done this year, and it's to restore all of the leaning, broken, fallen headstones around the cemetery. And it's pretty far ahead. We've progressed. There's not a ton, I think, of work for us to do. I mean, there's work going on, but I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I would say we probably don't need any volunteers for Slate Hill right now.
Yeah, I think 250 needs more attention than the Slate Hill probably does.
Yeah, we could
We
talk,
did.
we could talk about that
We'll
when we
get
get
there
to
later.
that.
Yeah. Mhm.
So Mitch, maybe you can give an overview to 250 then, please.
What's gonna happen, whether we like it or not, is gonna be an America 250 that is, we're working along with Bucks County and I'm working along with Washington Crossing Park to put together events that are going to be educational and reenact certain things. I've been going to the meetings with the Bucks 250. We have another meeting on March 27th. Anybody's welcome to join me. It's not necessary, but it's then. And we're going to need people to start to put together some of these programs, educational programs, and matching up along with what Washington Township is doing, Washington Crossing is doing. That's pretty much it at this point in time.
Okay, does that help, Jim, Victor, explain what the projects are? Okay, so,
250 thing. Or the cemetery.
Oh, what you're doing with the merchandise?
Yeah.
Fits well into the 250.
Yes, it does.
Mhm, mhm.
That should be part of it.
Yes.
I already considered
If
that.
you're talking, please.
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, the 250, the thing with the gift shop. I might as well cover that now. That is coming along. Mitch's son has been really, really helpful with all of that. So where we are with it, you can visualize it, is that we have art and he's developing more art. And then we're going to be at the point where we're going to decide what product that art is going to go on. And then Matt is going to be able to place it, arrange it, actually, create it. And then it's going to go up into this gift shop. And then after that, it's going to come down to where are we going to put this gift shop? Is it going to be, how do we get the gift shop out there to people
Mhm.
so we can actually raise some money? The artwork is pretty cool. A lot of the artwork is cool. So the 250 thing actually, really fits very nicely into all of this. We can create 250 product for that gift shop as well. It's pretty simple. I don't know what artwork there is available for 250,
Always make our own.
so they'll need.
Okay, so it sounds like you're willing to. So it sounds like you're on the 250 committee now with Mitch and Helen. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Fine.
Wherever I'm needed,
Um,
wherever I'm needed the most, at least.
what do you think?
why don't you start with us on the historic resource survey?
Smart.
That's
Okay,
the one that's happening.
because I don't know right now. So I'll talk about that next. Why don't you start with us on there? Okay. I think we could use your skills. Yes,
And that's more immediately pressing.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
anything else?
I think we're done that. I think we've done our goals review.
All right, there's our quarterly review. All right, so you get to talk again at the Historic Resource Survey.
Okay, my name's next to it, but Jeff's actually leading the project, but Jeff's not here, okay? Yes. So just actually, I think the last time we spoke, Jeff had updated that we got the contract with Jeff Marshall completed and signed.
Nice.
So signed off. Yeah, so that's good. The other thing that Jeff arranged is for a training session
Mhm.
from PHMC or from SHPO. And that will take place next Friday. So I will send Dave, you and Victor and Tom. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. And we're gonna have it record it right, but it'd be good if we could be there so we could ask questions. I think once we have that training session, we'll have a little bit more visibility into what needs to be done and we could start assigning responsibilities to that. So I think that's going to be a big piece, and then maybe we can get together afterwards and just say, how do we approach this? I don't know if Jeff Marshall's going to need any help with field work. I don't know, Victor, if he's going to do photography, if he's going to expect us to do photography. But I do know that he's not overly, he wants to spend his time actually doing field work and that desk work as in putting stuff in PA share. So I think most of what we will be doing was taking what he gives us, formatting it, getting it into PA share. So, but we'll go through that. So that's the update. Yeah, we're making progress. Hopefully, once we get the training done, we can start making a lot more faster project because we got to get all of this done by the end of the year.
Joe, quick question. What, did we finalize the date cutoff of this round of the survey?
Right, pretty much 1900. So actually, let me say it another way. What we're going to do is validate the 2007 survey
Okay.
in two ways. First of all, there's things that were there in 2007 that aren't there anymore, right? But secondly is this 2007 survey doesn't necessarily have all the information in it around materials and things like that. that
Mhm.
EPA shares. We have to get a more comprehensive view of it. So that's kind of what we're going to do this year. And then as we get more towards the end of the year, we're going to apply for a grant next year to start looking at 1900.
So the application for the grant will be in 2026?
The application will be this year.
Will be this year?
Money will be next year.
Let me know. I'm happy to do it again.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that we could just take what you did last year and
I
change it.
think so. It would make sense for me to do it. So just let me know dates when you know.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions on the historic resources survey?
Yeah, thanks, everybody working on that. It's an important thing to do for a bunch of reasons, including moving into our next topic. And I put both of our names next to it, is the demolition ordinance, which I don't think we actually have a lot to report.
No.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's really not much to report. We got the feedback back from Bucks County. We may have said that last time, and it's right now sitting at the solicitor's office. And we're waiting for her to give her revision, and then it'll go back to the Board of Supervisors. So we're just sort of, yeah, waiting.
How much prep time will we be given to know which Board of Supervisors meeting it's coming up at?
I mean, I think we could help to decide that, but how much prep time do you think we need?
Well, I just want to get as many people there that support us as
Okay.
possible.
Yeah.
And the more time I have, the more people I
Okay.
can get.
All right, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say right now, well, we're definitely not going to be on the agenda for the 19th. One would hope that the next meeting after that, I would say probably one of the next two meetings is the hope, but I'll let you know as soon as we know. I mean, I would hope we get like 2 weeks notice, but
Mhm.
I think they're eager to get it back there.
Yeah. And I think we all should be thinking of that because there's likely going to be some people that show up and are upset about it. So we all, I think, need to be getting people that are supporting, whether or not they're speaking, just fill the room with people that support this idea.
Yeah, love that.
The Regency people have been hitting me up with the house on
Old Oxford
Old
Valley.
Oxford Valley Road,
Yeah.
the Giles House. Giles Satterthwaite house to add to the complex. But anyway, and you, are you? What are you thinking?
I mean, I think there was, I sent you the documents that they sent on that. At first I thought it was, but then I realized, I sent you that email that I read the documents wrong around that. But I mean, it's probably late 18th century, 1800.
Yeah, late 18th
right?
century,
Yeah,
early 19th century. Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. So,
I think you're right. It says in the family album, the Satterthwaite said it was in a new house. So but what does that mean? It could have been, added to as well.
right.
I told the guy from Regency to check out the history of Five Mile Woods.
And he
which
did.
I think has a picture of
It does. He did. He sent it to me. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't find my copy, but.
Right. Yeah.
Because everything's in chaos, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a quick update, just because I want to keep properties on the agenda for, that we're kind of just keeping an eye on. There's no real new updates for 743 River Road. After the visit, Joe wrote an outstanding response to it from this committee, and we sent it to Jim, who I believe sent it to the realtors. So now we're sort of in waiting. I checked on the property a day or two ago and it's still showing as pending. So we will continue to monitor it, and the planning commission will notify us if it comes before them at some point. Although I think that's a few steps down the road.
Right.
There was a, sorry, addendum to the Giles Satterthwaite House. And that was that one of the people that's so upset at Regency has realized that C3, by the way that they're subdividing that parcel, because they're doubling the available housing. So it would, so if the variance they would need would be so substantial that it would literally get rid of C3. It'll be instead of 35 houses in the C3 lot, it will be like 70 houses.
Yeah.
So there is a good reason to not go with it.
Right. Yeah. But I think when we look at that and we look at River Road, there's a trend of people who are just coming in and they want to buy lots with old houses so they can tear them down and build either more houses or build bigger houses. So we also saw that house down in Black Rock, for example, and you got to be really careful about that, right? Because we could lose a lot of historic houses fast. I mean, it's one thing with what's happening with the farms, right? Because the farmers are selling and so then they're converting them into developments. But this is something that could happen much quicker because individual developers could just start buying up lots with old houses and ripping them down. So the demolition ordinance is a good first step, but let's remember, all it guarantees is that house will get documented. It doesn't guarantee that it won't be demolished. And for areas like River Road, we might need to start taking other steps in trying to put them in some kind of district that would protect them, so we should be thinking about that as we go forward. But let's get the demolition ordinance done first.
Well, you think about protecting your own property values in terms of, do you want 75 houses next to you, or would you prefer a neat enclave of maybe $20 million house?
Yeah, right.
Cost about the same for the developer to do it. It would cost about the same for the developer to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're making good progress. This is one of the reasons we need the historic resource survey, so that we have documentation when these people come before the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, any of the commissions, to document their local historic value.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're also working with Megan from SHPO, who is supporting us in this endeavor. All right. Anything else? We can go to cataloging township-owned materials. And it's me. It's me, but it's actually Dawn doing all the work. But hey, I get to
Thank you,
speak about
Dawn.
it as if it's me. Anyway, we actually have an action item here. I sent you all a spreadsheet of expenses that Dawn produced. So in our budget this year, Joe had put in $3,000 for this project. As with any project, it has become more complicated, and so I think our focus right now, and correct me if I am wrong, Dawn, is to get some materials. So, I mean, the expensing is kind of boring as far as paper clips and fancy folders and a bigger filing cabinet. But those are things we need so that we can go through those materials and assess what we have and start to store them properly. So that's going to be step one. We're going to hold off on the past perfect purchase until next fiscal year. We'll put that in the budget for next fiscal year, because by then we should be at the point where we can start entering into the database. Is that all right? So can I have a motion or any opposition to the approval of the expenses for cataloging project?
I would make a motion to approve the budget for the cataloging project.
Is there a second?
I second.
Right? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you, unanimous.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
On this.
We do have a volunteer from Newtown Historic Society who will be helping do the initial cataloging. And so they have been incredible in really training me to set this up here.
Awesome.
But one of the big complications we have to get started is we have no space to do this. We share this room with others, and our cabinet is in that corner and there's a door in the way and the cabinet's too small. And so that's part of the complexity of what we're going to be dealing with the first, like just to get started.
Right.
Yeah, I do want to say that Dawn did a Monica and, went to some place and got information and came out with a volunteer review.
Well done, well done.
We have Monica rub off on us all.
No, she had it before she met me. Thank you, Dawn.
Okay, update on the ground penetrating radar project. So Slate Hill is me and Monica, but I took this one, Monica.
Do it. Yeah.
Give me a second. This is a visual. Yay. So Benton from Century Mapping sent me the initial map, and this is a 1926 map. So this is what we're working with. All of these red dots, hold this, so I can speak. All of these red dots are bodies without a headstone. Ouch. So the yeah, if you want to grab the other, you're welcome to it. The white ones are marked and they kind of drone put in the names and the dates, the majority of which are, well, yeah, no, the majority of which are incorrect for one reason or another. A lot of them faded stones. So this is actually our working map. And we have spent, myself, Dawn, Ashley, a lot of time in the cemetery. All right, you can take it down when you're ready. A lot of time in the cemetery going through, because what we have to do is we have to send a marked map, I can that nicely, a marked map back to Century Mapping, and then they're going to make all of the adjustments. So we're at the point that we're going to take all of the known people and put them on the nice map, not the one Cathy's been carrying around in her pocket, taking it to windy Slate Hill. And then our next step is to try to fill in some of these red dots. And Monica is the master when we were there yesterday at looking at 1926 and saying, there should be somebody right here.
Yeah, there's a lot that are going to be really easy from the 1926 map to. Well, migrating stones is a hard thing to
Yeah.
confirm. That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
hard,
right.
but confirming when there's 3 McLeases and the 1926 map has 2 more right next to them, and there's 2 graves that we found and no stones, we say, there's the 2 McLeases. We know that. So, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of unknowns, but there's going to be a lot that we're going to be able to mark based on the 1926 information. Yeah. Now, the 1926 map also we need to recognize isn't perfect. We found a number of names that we realized are close but wrong, because I think the stones were also dirty. No one's ever cleaned them. So like we kept looking for Edmund Neild, and we were like, Rosamond Neild is where it should be. It's Rosamond. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, Edmund, Rosamond.
Yeah.
They messed it up. It's so there's a handful of those things that we're realizing, like, oh, this is almost the same name. They just didn't read it right. So it was just another group like us in 1926.
Spelling is very selective and very fragile in the 19th century. So yeah, just use the most common spelling.
Right. Well, and the nice thing is the majority of the stones, now that they're clean, are legible. There's very few that are not legible anymore.
And most of those are like 1700, early
Yeah.
1800 ones. So, yeah.
Speaking of 1700s, Did you guys see here that we found a 1782 stone?
Well, we refound
We
it.
refound it.
Refound it.
So
So-
apparently it was found in, oh, sorry, it's yours.
Who is it?
Elizabeth Robeson, she's not on the 1926 map. So this weird stone that's similar stone to Joseph Sharp's and John Brown's, that like reddish, really rough,
Yeah.
hand carved. And it's been on the ground next to the main entrance on Malon for ages. And I've seen it and we've read it like, oh, that's interesting. Who is that? Why is it hand carved? It's weird. And we finally like really paid attention to it in the last couple weeks, read it here lieth Elizabeth Robeson. And we're like, lieth, that's a old timey word. That seems old, but no information. And then the other day I was there with my friend from New York showing off the cemetery as I do to my poor visitors. And it's like, you know what, I flipped it over. It's totally engraved on both sides, which also I've never seen on a headstone. And we need Ashley's expertise in reading it. It's not perfect, but I was like, oh, it clearly says December 4th, 17 something too. And I was like, and while this is all going on, Dawn had said, hey, you guys, look at this cool article unrelated to this stone, just in talking, this cool article of a cleanup they did, what, in 93 or I forget, late 80s, early 90s,
Early 90s.
where these high school kids worked on the wall and there was a newspaper article, but while working on the wall, they found a stone from 1782 and there's a picture of these kids with the stone. It's the same stone.
Oh.
It was so cool. So I don't know. They must have found it and then just put it back on the ground. I don't know what to do with it, but so exciting. So, and I'm really excited because this is a revolution era stone. It says aged. I don't know how old, but I think we'll be able to figure it out. But it also says wife of James. So this woman was old enough to be married, which means she was alive during the revolution, which is pretty cool. Just adding someone to our little list. That'll be good for 250,
Mhm.
you know? So I'm very excited about that. And I mean, has anyone seen a stone engraved on two sides? That's crazy to me. I've never seen that. And it's like significant writing on both sides.
Yeah,
So crazy.
usually it's religious on one side and then biography on the other.
It's just a bunch of info on Elizabeth, which we've been looking, James and Elizabeth. It's huge.
That's more typical of middle colonies than New England.
Oh,
So
interesting.
That's, yeah,
We need you to take a look at it. I want
this
you
is
to
the
see
middle
it.
colonies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Which reminds me, did we destroy the Samuel Herman sign?
no, we still have it.
What?
We still have it.
It's the my existence.
Maybe you should talk about this after the meeting? Maybe talk about it after the meeting?
Okay.
Two questions with regards to this. First of all, how does this impact the Keystone Preservation Grant project? That's one. And the second is where you know that there are now graves that aren't marked, will you somehow mark them?
Yeah, so we have temporary markers right now that Jeff's been kind of spearheading, but they're temporary. We have some ideas, Dawn, you found the Etsy stuff, right? We have some ideas of some ground markers because also we don't want to add more to lawn maintenance issues. So
Right.
we're trying to think of
Yeah.
things like that, that both for people whose names we can confirm and then just unmarked, just acknowledge there's someone buried there.
Right.
And so that's the goal in the future, but no official plan or budget has been set out yet. I think till we have an idea of how many we'll be able to engrave and stuff, but we're looking at ones that are cost effective
good.
because, you know, we don't have money to put up big headstones for everyone. And as far as the found stone, she'll just be included in, we have a handful.
No, I mean, how will this impact your Keystone grant?
Oh, well, it's already worked into the bid, which I'll show you guys, or the request to bid. As far as the interactive map will be really useful for
Okay.
coordinating with the construction partner
Okay.
on confirming which stones, but it's supporting us, but it's not changing anything.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think one more thing on the map before I turned it over to Monica for the RFP and the tree stuff. Oh, totally just lost my train of thought.
Going to be getting any of these Revolutionary War stones from the VA?
we don't have anybody confirmed in our cemetery that served in, we do not have anybody confirmed in our cemetery that served in the Revolutionary War. Should that happen, then we can pursue a stone, but we don't have anybody that we feel. And we kind of, our committee is me, Dawn, Monica, and Ashley, and we kind of do everything by consensus, like, oh, are you reading this? Can you read it? So we're checking each other all the time. But let me turn the rest of the Slate Hill stuff over to, oh, the other thing I was going to say with the map is I talked to Monica, and another longer term project would be to get a kind of interpretive display of it in the cemeteries, like you've seen in cemeteries with all the stones marked. But
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
future stuff. I mean, there's some steps and we have to get the money. All right, Monica.
I have quickly, it's a lot of writing, so I won't make you look at it all together. Mainly, I just want to show you that it's kind of done. The invitation to bid that we have to post to get our construction partner for the grant for fixing the cemetery. So to just show kind of how it's laid out, we do an overview of what Slate Hill is, and recognizing that, you know, we're doing all this stuff, we're bringing people in, and we recognize that that cemetery has to be safe. So we need to restore these stones. Go into a little background. And then this, I think, is probably what you guys would be most interested in. We've broken the scope of work into how many? Was that 6 different kind of categories? So just absolutely loose and whole that need to be righted, partially broken, with some of it still in the ground. I need to get that picture. This isn't 100% ready, but I'd say it's 90%. Broken, severely tilted, severely cracked and breaking, couple buried. We found a few buried stones recently, which is pretty cool. And so this, what I'm asking the contractors to do is to detail each one of these categories, how much it is per stone, because we may not have the budget for 94 total. I went through and every single one I wanted fixed, and I'm sure I missed a couple. I know Cathy found a couple I didn't. So we'll see what they come back with, how much of this we can do. But I think we could do the vast majority of it. So one quick question for anyone that understands space. How many acres would you think Slate Hill is?
1.4.
Yeah. Okay, done. General conditions. I've got the National Park Service stuff in there for you. And then how we're gonna look at it, the criteria. So proven experience, references, cost, description and approach, and basically following the rules. And so that's that. And then a bunch of township stuff. The one thing I noticed missing from here was insurance. So I'm gonna ask Jim about that. I know Cathy sent it to you. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. If you have a chance to skim it, I think it's in pretty good shape. I have a few things to add. I'm going to ask about insurance. If you see it, and I know I sent it to Jeff with his experience on these two. If you see anything to add or change, let me know. But I think we're in good shape on that.
So I think the one thing, and I think you sort of addressed it, but I just want to clarify, is that I know with the other RFP we did, some of the people felt like they couldn't do it for the money, and then didn't apply. So I just want to, I mean, Joe, I don't know if you have feedback on this and stuff, just encourage people to apply for, I don't know if that language is specifically.
Oh, that's good, maybe, because I think you're right. I can make it clear because my goal is let's get these 94 done, but with the per capita pricing that I'm asking for, will really be like, how much can we get done for the budget? So I'll call that out. That's a good point.
Just a quick question. I just kind of saw the number. You have the amount of the grant, right? But the
Yeah.
project's twice that.
It says in there to be matched.
Okay.
So I don't, originally I
good.
had the full amount. People were like, well, maybe we don't. So like, they kind of have to read and think about it.
You do
and
math?
They have to do math.
Okay.
But, you know, I felt like maybe it's better for them to start with the lower number and then say, oh, there's more, instead of like, oh, sweet, it's a $70,000 project. Let's make some, you know.
I was also kind of wondering why, if we should even have that in there because of that.
I didn't know either. I did it because we had it in the resources survey.
What did Majewski say? He's
mean,
more of an expert at this than I.
I'll ask
I don't
him.
Do
I'll ask
government
him.
contracts, so.
I mean, I had it in there and he didn't make a comment on it, but I'll ask him
right, yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, I had the same thing because I was worried about people inflating
Yeah,
to
Exactly.
need it.
right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now, I mean, that number was arrived at, excuse me, that's better, with the help of experts that help us get
Understand, yeah,
there.
yeah,
So
right.
in theory should be around, but again, only one company.
Yeah.
So who knows
Yeah.
exactly? So I'll ask
Yeah.
Jim, that's fine. You said 1.4 acres, is that what you said, Kathy? Cool, thank you.
Bucks County has it listed as 1.3. Correction, that's what they had it listed on.
1.37.
Okay.
They just said 1.3. That's all they said on there.
Yes, with a line over it. Oh, we got pie going on over here. Okay, that's all I have on that. Any questions? Dad, schedule.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, that's
No.
250. What do you want
No.
to call it? Yeah, okay.
Okay, you can ask someone to make the motion, yes.
Yeah, so not on here, but Jim and I have kind of the start of because Jim actually got Pensbury's attention with let's start.
Wait.
Wait.
Let's finish this one first because we have to make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Yes.
Can somebody make a motion to approve the submission of this RFP to the township?
Do it. I can't.
Okay, Jim, is there a second? Dave seconds, all in favor?
I,
Awesome. Now go to the next thing. Sorry.
So reminder that Jim got Pensbury to listen at least to possibly doing some educational stuff at the cemetery. And they said, send us what you're thinking and let's see the cemetery. So I've put together a deck to send to them. It might be a bit robust because I get excited about everything that is going on at Slate Hill. So, but this is just the first pass. Let's play this bad boy so it looks better. That looks better, yeah. So we go into our standard history, and then I did a little talk about what we've been doing in the community and the great response. And then I have a lot of slides that are about our community work, but I like this because I tried to get pictures of kids in every single thing. So we've got the cleanup work that the Bucks Learning Cooperative high school kids did. We've got the ghost tour. And then our
look at those kids.
I thought Pensbury would be impressed, like, oh, local politicians are going there. Yay. The QR code project, which again, kids and QR codes, kids these days. That, I got my daughter in there because how cute is that? But grave marker maintenance, look, kids clean grave markers. Ground penetrating radar, no kids. It's just a cool project. So I call it a bit about what we're doing there. So the thing is, maybe we don't need all of those. I don't know. But the idea is just to excite them and interest them about what we've been doing. And then I do a little blurb on why this is important to share with the youth. And then I broke this down. So I based this on two really amazing cemeteries that I follow, Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn and Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C. They're super active with the community, both of them. The one in Brooklyn, my daughter's pre-K class did a field trip to. Awesome. So, and both of them on their websites, they call out student, school tours and have all these opportunities. And so this is based kind of on what they do, or these are kind of categories we can focus on for different tours. So I broke it into, I can't see that. There we go. Lower Bucks County and the Civil War, revolutionaries, Lower Bucks beginnings, women's history, and Black history. So kind of depending on, because they immediately in their one response to, or their one kind of blurb they gave us was like, oh, we do revolutionary stuff in 7th grade or whatever it was. And so kind of trying to show them there's all sorts of different things we could focus on here. It doesn't necessarily just need to be 7th grade. It can be, wherever they're learning these various things. And then I go into a different slide of 3 different ways we can kind of interpret these stories. So we can do a walking tour, which a docent that's extremely excited about dead people walks them around and tells them about them. So the logistics, I'm doing this at my dining room table. So none of this is set in stone, but just thoughts. That's one of us. We're volunteers. We know the stories. We'll show up and walk them around. No big deal. can be one class, no minimum, it doesn't matter. Or we can do up to 10, I did the math based on ghost tours, but whatever. Then to step it up a notch, an audio ghost tour similar to our Joshua Anderson, that we threw into the ghost tour when we lost Frank for the performance, and we put my dad's voice in, and people loved that. So you walk up to so we'd have a docent walking them around, but instead of that person telling the stories, when they get to the stone, something activates the audio, and then we have first person, hey, I'm Mary Stockton. I'm a big deal. Let me tell you more about my childhood, whatever. And so at this point, I feel like we get into some costs. Basically, once it's done, it's not that hard, but to actually produce this, we're going to have to get a lot of people to read stuff, and most of them aren't going to charge us. We know a lot of people like my dad that we can get that have great voices that can do stuff. But I think there are some costs involved, also some technology with the audio. But again, I made that number up, but my thought is up to 10, but minimum of 3. If we're going to the effort to produce this and get it done, we should have at least 3 tours in a day. One of my biggest questions for this, in saying we can accommodate up to 10 groups, is parking. Kids and field trips are buses. So, and that's during the week. So I'm not sure. My thought is we just, again, rely on, the Legion or whatever, but
Right.
that school's there. So I don't know, we got to figure that out. And we get the police involved. But even when we start doing that, at some point, the police are going to be like, we can't do all this for free, right? Like, I think, so just thoughts on, bigger planning, how we pull this off. And then full ghost tour. Do they want us to get actors and put on a ghost tour? And then the idea, I came up with $1,000 a day, and that was really based on just like paying the actors, and really getting up to 10 groups. And anything like this, we'd want to say, like, bring, 7th grade students from all 3 of the middle schools that day. Let's get them all in, or whatever. I probably should have a minimum on there. Well, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you want to pay $1,000, we'll do it for 1 class, or we can do it for 10 classes, whatever. That was my thinking. How great are those pictures? And then add-on ideas. So scavenger hunt, my daughter came up with this. She's so excited about it. I think it's really cool, because I had the idea. So we do this tour and whatever, but then what? So we could give the kids a list of things to find in the cemetery. And it could be a mixture of things that there isn't necessarily one correct answer, but find brothers, find someone who lived over 2 centuries, all of those things. A last name you recognize. I thought that was cool. They may not, but they may, some might be like, I know, that's whatever. And then I threw in the time capsule, because I think we talked about getting the schools involved. I think it would be really great. So my thought was, anyone that takes a tour can submit a suggestion, or the group, like that one class, Miss Martin's class, gets to vote on what their suggestion is, send it to us. And then at some point, we'd have to have a deadline. And given the amount of time and the work, I don't know if we're going to have time to back time all this, but ideally, we'd get all of them in by a certain date, have a cutoff, and then all of those ideas, every class that's attended and submitted, they get that final survey, and they can all vote on their favorite 2 or 3 things, whatever we decide, so they can really have a say in what goes in it, which I think would be cool. I got a bunch of quotes from kids that have come to the tour. I got kids, so I tried to get different ages so they could see it seems to cross ages. Lots of more kid pictures, and then next steps.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Right? I'm so excited. Logistically, there's a lot that I'm like, it's all totally doable, but we got to figure some things out.
Right.
And to me, it really depends on how big do they want to start? Are they like, yeah, we've got an AP class we'll send your way, or we want all the 4th graders to come. Like, I think that's kind of the question that will help us define that. But I think this is plenty to go to them and be like, come on over and do a tour.
I think that when I originally pitched this to Pennsbury, I pitched it because I thought we should want kids to know where they live and what the history is in the area they live, and that's critical. So it's not just, going to the cemetery, and running around, but Monica took care of that, basically. They're not going to be doing that. But it really is, I think the history department at Pennsbury, really receptive if the kids understand the history of the area they live in. That is critical. He did say, when he wrote back, I sent you, he said, we never send kids through cemeteries. That was something he mentioned, but I
Which
think.
is fair. That's a fair
That's
response.
but
Yeah.
Don't let them loose in a cemetery, scare the hell out of them.
Mhm.
So I think Monica, great job, but the overriding issue is history
Mhm.
and knowing history of where you live. That's really, really important.
My little blurb, which I would love help writing it up to encompass our thoughts, but I think it's about, I know for me at least, I didn't care about history until it was personal and suddenly I cared and I wish earlier
Right,
that
that's
had
what it's
happened to
about.
me.
That's what it's about. Right. Hopefully they will, what we would like to see is that they actually make this part of the curriculum. That's what we'd like to
I
see.
actually grew up near a cemetery. And as a young child going into the cemetery, it was a Methodist cemetery. There would be these little baby lambs. I think I told you this story.
No.
Yeah, well, when a child dies, sometimes they.
Oh,
put
on the stone. I thought you were talking about around the cemetery. Go to my
Lambs on
goats. Yeah.
on
Okay.
each
On
of
the,
stones.
yes. Mhm.
Well, my girlfriend and I carried about 4 of them back to the house. We were visiting, I was in the graveyard. Of course, promptly got screamed at by her mother. Had to take it back,
Mhm.
replace them on the tombstone. But it was a really great example of not having thought of what you were doing. And ever since then, I have been really fierce about people
Respect. Mhm.
picking them up and selling markets and so forth. So on. It's just something that just grosses me out because I got caught. But anyway.
Good thing you were caught.
The oldest
Mhm.
Quaker cemetery that we know of that still existed. There does not seem to be enough, and I've checked, I've looked through Delaware County.
Girl, you don't have to sell us on it.
Yeah, I think, well, but I would like help with some of those things because I think I'm comfortable saying oldest known. We don't know, but we've tried like
Well,
oldest known.
They were both declared on the same day, Falls Meeting Cemetery, and so like many things Quakers do, they do in multiple
Right.
layers at the same time. But anyway, but it really is spectacular that way. Every other one has been destroyed, or there may have been older ones at Pensbury Manor, but it's been destroyed. So, it really is the oldest by a Quaker meeting. And, that is really important. And so we have to teach not only about graveyards, but also, and how important the rituals of death are, but also about Quakers.
Quakers,
and
mhm.
religion and the fact that the toleration of religion drove this particular province to an unprecedented level where it accepted everybody
Mhm.
because they wanted to be accepted and the Quakers were in a minority.
Yeah, I think, again, back to the logistics and the work, that slide, that's the program ideas, and I list 5 kind of headings. There's a lot of work to be done then within those. And I think what I name, we can name them whatever we want, but I named it Lower Bucks Beginnings, I think is that. And I would be amazing if you can even now, because I think at some point this is going to happen. So start writing down your thoughts on that would be really helpful once we actually get to building out that program, if you're willing.
Monica, I also think that story graph I sent you from when I was at Mount Peace the other day would be
Mhm.
a great way to engage kids, since even the 4th graders all have phones.
Not. Oh.
Anyway, can we talk about trees? Can we talk about trees?
Yeah. You want, go?
I guess I'll start and then you
Mhm.
can name the specific trees. So another tree went down the other day, and
We all lost power.
we all lost power. Many of us lost power.
Yeah.
So Joe and I had a very productive 19-minute meeting with Dave, and also talked to Derek. And anyway, they would like a recommendation from us as to if we are in support of removing trees. So Monica, you can maybe identify the trees, and if people are into it, we can make a motion because we need to make a recommendation to Dave. Thank you.
Can I just give just a quick backstory? So when a couple years ago, Helen and I had approached the township around removing, there were some dead trees at Slate Hill, and we were concerned about them. And at that point, they took them down, and we asked about an assessment of the other trees that were not dead. And they said, well, they're old trees. We're not so sure, but they still have growth on them. So at that point, we decided to let them be there because they still had growth. They still seem to be alive. Well, since then, 2 of them have fallen down. So I think we have 2 data points that says, okay, even though they're not dead, they're not safe. And I just wanted to say that before we talk about other trees, which you might look at and say, well, why are you taking that down? The tree's still alive.
Also, Dawn was in the cemetery like a half an hour before the tree went down and heard it crack. So, let's not wanting to tempt fate.
Yeah, I'm sure Helen, you got the same. We absolutely have to have any of them that have the ivy grown up them, even the one that,
I make a motion to, work with Dave to set up a schedule to remove all trees over 10 feet from the cemetery.
I'm not prepared to support that now. I think I'm prepared right now. I think Monica has identified 4 trees. 3 are right in the middle by Ulysses and Joseph, and are ivy covered and are right next to the one that fell. And they would there's no way that they would fall without damaging stones.
and they're in the exact same state, the last 2 that just
And
fell
they
over.
look just like the last ones. And then Monica's also concerned about one a little further back that had ivy that Jeff tore down, but now we're actually worried that.
That was the one thing keeping it up. Yeah. Yeah, so anything that has significant,
I honestly think there shouldn't be anything over, well, maybe 20 feet, because that's how tall Franklin had gone. But that's how high it should be, and then at least it won't take out the stone.
well, I'm interested in knowing what your reasoning is on the height of the tree.
Basically, the higher the tree, when it goes over, the more powerful
The
the.
bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Right. There's a number of large trees there that seem completely healthy. The what? Oh, yeah.
I would really ask, they should actually be on the list. Maybe, a list that every year we take out grade.
Yeah, I think that's also the thing that I think we absolutely, those 4 have to come out of me as soon as possible for safety. Because it is expensive. So I think we can't tell the township, pull out 12 trees. But yeah, I think then we can have, if there's more trees that we're concerned about, I'm not for every tree, but I understand there are. And the segregated side is, there's so many trees and there's so much growth there that I actually don't notice them as much, and I need to pay attention to more, but they don't have any scary ivy ones, but that doesn't mean there's not ones that are problematic. So I absolutely think that's what we should do. And that's what I was starting to talk with Derek about, is setting a schedule for every year. We take down 1 or 2, but
Yeah, one of our
Clearly
former
easy to come
scouts
down.
has a huge, one of those big lifts that goes in. Maybe we can ask him to donate it or something.
no. Rick's has a deal with the township, and they'll handle it. And they do every time they've gone in there, I've been so impressed with how they've handled it and left it. So I think that we stick with that and have the township handle it. But yeah, so I'm
Right,
on board. Those
motion to
4, and then we
discuss.
can make a schedule, and I'm happy to walk it with you, Helen.
Make a motion.
I make a motion to pull out those 4 damn trees immediately. And,
All right,
and make a schedule for the following years with
Yeah.
Helen.
okay.
Not to interrupt, but do we want to have like an arborist look at it? At least
mean,
look, at least.
No,
make-
they'll
Yeah, we
argue.
did that last year.
We had to make a list of what we can get rid of now and sort of like look at what we actually have considered, down the line removed.
Well, so this is the thing. Last year we had an arborist who wasn't Rick's, because Rick's is not an arborist as far as I know. And the only tree that he was concerned about was the one that just fell, and mostly because of proximity, because as he said then, we will all lose power. Ship has sailed. But the thing is he did that for free, and we can't keep asking people to do free labor and then not giving.
They're
them a job.
expensive, the arborists.
So I think that we make the motion for
Mhm.
4, and then, and the
schedule.
2, we will work on a schedule to be determined for next year.
And I like the idea of bringing an arborist in for
Yeah.
the future ones for
because
sure.
also
Yeah.
These 4 have to go.
Yeah.
I think the thing is even now with these trees, they're like, well, it could be next week. It could be 10 years from now. I think we're just not really willing to tempt fate when we identified 5 trees and 2 went down this year.
Mhm.
But I think there must be some type of testing they could do to assess the health of a tree
I mean,
and,
do we want to spend that money?
Not on these, absolutely not.
Uh,
They're
My only thing is
Dead
just
men walking.
having an arborist look at it is at least we can get their opinion on what, at least, because there's certain species in there that are obviously going to be much, much stronger and holding up to whatever, the weather throws at them and rot throws at them. But, it's like some of them, I think, it'd be better to keep some of them and some that are there, especially if they're healthy, there's no point in removing them. Whereas like, I know the ivy covered ones, I thought
Mhm.
before, probably be better to get rid of them as soon as possible.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd love to, and I think I'll put that in my motion, to enlist an arborist in making our future plans, which can be next year. I mean, that's not an immediate cost, but I think that's a good
I
idea.
second your motion.
I agree. I want to make a plan that's based on science.
okay, you had a motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's everything on Slate Hill?
Yeah, I'm going a little.
All that talk about the cemetery, man. All right, Joe, Patterson Farm, Joe, Helen.
To share my screen, but just as a warning, I have no sexy slides or pictures. I gotta figure out how to do this in Zoom. Share. Get out of here. Okay,
Now you're showing emails.
yeah. I can never figure out how this works.
Oh, because you clicked on the wrong thing, so you need to get out of the Gmail.
I need to get into my, I clicked into the wrong thing. Okay, how do I do that?
All right. Close this.
Stop
window.
share.
Yeah, stop share.
Okay, there. Now I'm gonna share again.
Okay.
And I'm not
now
gonna
click, where do
but
you want to share?
I want to share my Chrome. But
Okay,
there's
but you're-
there's a bunch of tabs there.
But so maybe go into your Chrome and close some of the tabs that you don't need everybody to see, like the emails from me.
But this is just the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go here
Yep.
and then do. All
Is
right,
that what you
this is what I want to share. Okay,
Okay, you got it.
now we'll come back. We're gonna share screen again. All right. This is kind of small. Just as an update, last time we spoke, I had mentioned that Helen did a lot of research in understanding the output of the farm compared to other farms in the area, and specifically compared to Lower Makefield Township as a whole. And this is really important because it's one of the criteria for listing on the National Register is we have to show that those farms were above average in terms of their production, above average compared to others in the township. So I won't try to show you that file, but I'll send it right. But we took all that data, we have it all in bar charts. It looks fantastic. And the good news is that it was well above, all the farms were well above average in all the time periods that we looked at. So it's not even a question. But then what I wanted to do was to, let me just go away. What I wanted to do was to put together some type of a plan of what we need to do to get from here to there, and there being a submission to the National Register of Historic Places for Patterson Farm. So there's 4 phases that are defined in this: the preliminary assessment, which we've largely completed. There's a few things we have to do. A detailed evaluation. This was the data that I mentioned that we just got completed. We have some more work to do around that. We have to do a field examination. And then comes the first part is really just collecting all the data that we need to make our case. And then when we move into phase 3, and specifically phase 4, it's the writing of the nomination itself, okay? So what I did is I put this together and I sent it over to the people at SHPO that we're working with to say, did I miss anything? Is this good, right? Because I wanted to make sure that it was complete. There's also some checkpoints we need to do with them, and I want to make sure that I understand where those checkpoints are. When it's final, I'll forward it to the whole commission so we all have a copy, but then we can use that in order to track progress. And also Helen and I could begin to meet around certain topics of, like we were just talking today, for the period from 1960 to 1980, there's no data. We have to conduct some oral interviews in order to collect the information that we need. So it's the kind of thing that we can begin to work on and divide up once we have that. So that's the update. We're making progress. I wish we were making more progress faster. But it's definitely going to take us a little while to get down to the point of writing the whole submission, because that's quite an effort.
I mean, this is a job that I've seen contracts awarded from like the SHPOs for like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So all the work that Joe and Helen are doing, you could get a contractor to do it for like what, 10 grand or something.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That was anything else from your side, Helen? On anything from your side on Patterson Farm?
I'm sad to see. I am sad to see that the garden shed edge of the chicken thing is collapsed.
Yeah.
But I thought the rolling burning mulch pile was really an interesting and embarrassing, interesting development.
I don't know if many people know there's
What's that?
on Satterthwaite, right? On the Satterthwaite farm, there's a big mulch pile, which is actually in very close proximity to the historic farm buildings, and the mulch pile caught fire. So, which is not a.
No, it basically spontaneously
somebody-
erupted.
Yeah.
What's it being used for by the farm? Township.
When they pick up your leaves, that's where they dump them.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's
but
okay.
unfortunately, you have to rotate
Yeah.
mulch beds and nobody's.
So what do they use it? Derek's team just takes
They
it when they
just
need
didn't
mulch?
know. They didn't, nobody now running. This is the problem when people that take over without experience in what the other people have been doing before. So it was hysterical, actually. Yeah, a lot of us kind of were laughing, but sad story. It's just, it could have literally lit the historic
Yeah.
building.
I mean, literally, if the wind was blowing the right way, we would have lost the big barn. Yeah. So.
All right. America 250. Mitch, do you have anything else to report? I know you said some stuff before. All right.
Website for bucks250pa.org is up and running.
You want your mic on?
Excuse me?
Is your mic on?
Thank you. The bucks250pa.org website is up and running. There is a function there for adding an event. So as we move into it, we can add our events to it. It'll go to a calendar. Eventually, they're going to turn that not only into a website, but from that calendar do newsletters. So there's a lot going on, and there's a follow-up meeting on March 27th at 4 to 5:30 at Pennsbury Manor of the entire committee. I think now that the website's up and running, they're going to have a lot more information, a lot more to put out there. A couple other questions I had was I had met with the Jennifer Martin, the executive director of Friends for Washington's Crossing, a couple months ago. She gave me the name of a gentleman named Jeff Marshall, and I brought it up at the last meeting, and everybody was like, "Oh, Jeff's already working with us." how do we get him to talk to us about what we need to know about what Washington did in town here? So that we can include that into whatever thoughts we have and learning we have. I don't know the guy. I mean, you guys are dealing with him,
I don't know.
or is it necessary?
I don't know that, I've never seen Jeff write or speak on that topic. Jeff Marshall write or speak on that topic. Larry, who you had speak, right?
What's that?
Larry Kidder, of course.
I already
has,
spoke
but
to him. We
I don't-
read
Helen, do you
part of his
know?
book.
I'm not going to ask Jeff Marshall, but is Jeff Marshall well versed in the Revolutionary War in Lower Makefield Township?
Well, no, he's an expert at the Washington's Crossing, which may give him, there may be some information in that is going to fall into our situation.
There are plenty of people who can talk
Yeah.
about the war, but I talked to. the
Well, it's
guy-
not just the war. Again, this is, the America 250 is everything.
He went to the church. And then he went to Penn State, so he's actually more towards the center, and then his whole entire career has been spent in Doylestown.
So is there any reason to talk to him or to anybody? I mean, again,
You might want to read that 10 days book that Kidder wrote.
I've tried to. I'll be honest, I've tried.
Fair.
I take my nap about 1 in the afternoon, so about 1:45, I start to read it. It's better than Ambien. No, it's good stuff.
He's very nervous when he talks.
Okay, I just said it was mentioned by her and it was mentioned in the group, so I thought maybe he was going to be a resource, so. Okay,
Yeah, but I think he's talking about a resource, not putting him in front of people to speak.
no, just us.
You just,
just
I mean,
our
that
people-
can't hurt to reach out to him and talk to him.
Okay, but I don't know how.
Oh,
We deal with them, so I figured it'd be,
Jeff will have his
I'll
email.
send him an email.
okay.
Thanks, Joe.
The other thing we talked about, Helen brought up an idea of having a dinner at a historical house as a fundraiser, which I think we all thought was a good idea. If I'm to go to Andre Castillo, he's the guy who gives out the loans and the grants. Let's talk a little bit more about what that can be, and have you talked to an individual, and what are some of the resources we're gonna need, so we can give them some idea. We need $3,000, $8,000. I don't know how to do that. So that's something I think, again, having my meeting, I'll talk to Andre this week, let him know the suggestion. Okay. Other than that, there's really nothing else going on, other than it's gonna be here before you know it. And it's just kind of interesting, just one little note. It's a big deal, it's America 250, but it really doesn't apply to most of America. It really only applies to the 13 original colonies, as long as it's being limited to the Revolution and beyond. A lot of the things I'm reading happening, it's not really jumping in, it's not playing in Iowa, it's not playing in Missouri. It's pretty much New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Washington, DC, Virginia that are really involved in this thing. So I just don't know how much major attention it's going to get. So I think it's going to fall on us when the time comes to make sure the community understands what it is and it's happening. I'm a little concerned that the information isn't going to mean anything to a lot of the people without getting out in front of it.
But that's always been my question about what America 250. Is it about 1776, or is it about the 250 years of America? Because that's completely different.
According to Bucks 250, it's about the 250 years of America, but because of this area, we're so focused on the Revolution that we're going to have way more things to talk about. Now, whether there were some events that happened around World War I or happened around the Vietnam War, I guess we could do some research and find out if anything went on here in Lower Makefield, whether there were demonstrations against the war or whether, well, yeah, prohibition.
That's,
Or
yeah,
did we have,
Jeff will get into that.
did we have a still in the basement of the Concave or something? You know, I mean, there's a lot of other.
Many ideas, so
Yeah, so the point I'm making is, and that's the right question, is are we going to focus solely on the Revolution, or are we going to look and dig into other things that would have something to do with celebrating the 250? I know Bucks is doing that. They're doing the whole spread, the whole 250.
Lucky to have I think we're lucky to have what we have, and there'll be enough, especially if we space them over the course of the year. So every 2 months, we have some kind of a major get together about the revolution or about 250, and that's going to do it. And then the big wrap up for us will be in December, and then the war moves on.
Mhm.
know.
For what it's worth, as a producer by nature, by trade, by everything I do, I think we should move on from brainstorming and start making decisions and working. I think we've come up with a number of really strong ideas. We don't have to do them all, but I think you guys should decide what they are and start working on them, whatever that means. But I really think, and it's not my call, just throwing it out there, I think we're past the deadline of let's keep coming up with ideas, my suggestion.
Well,
And they need to be implementable
Mhm.
ideas with the current level of volunteers or somebody recruiting.
Right, or
You
budget,
bought-
like you said, like I love the dinner idea. I don't want to produce it, but there's people whose jobs are to do stuff like that. So if we can get the money to hire someone and then pay for the catering and everything, like, sure, let's do it. Like those things are possible. We can pay the experts.
Well, I think when I go to this meeting, there's going to be a lot more input from the various communities that are involved. And I think once we see where they're heading, I think we can have a separate meeting of everybody or anybody who wants to jump in and be part of this. But I don't want to discount Washington Cross and what they're doing and how we can tie into their events, because
Mhm.
that I already have spoken to her, and they're going full steam ahead. They've got a whole bunch of good stuff going on that we could, as Jennifer says, definitely ride off the backs of them as well.
Yeah, because they have the staff to produce.
Well, hopefully, with what's going
Oh,
on. It is a
geez.
Right,
federal
right.
park.
That's another issue.
Mm.
All right.
Federal?
I don't think did anybody have any new business? I think I probably just left it on the agenda. Public comment? You still awake out there?
All
right.
That's not fair. We want to hear your questions.
Next meeting is October.
Yes, it is
At
October.
7:30. I know it's not even 9 o'clock. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, lots of seconds. I'll
Thanks, everyone.
Team.
All
put the
favor.
time in Helen 8:42. I think you could pick anybody as a second.
Talk to you.
Trying to figure out where you
It's
fit
like a lot
in.
to digest,
And,
for sure.
it's like so many proud moments of things that are being done here that are really important,
Sure, and honestly, I had no idea that Laura Makefield was as old as it is.
Yeah,
It's really historic.
it is.
So I have access to Firestone Library at Princeton University.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
if we need some extra research of any kind, like,
Well, the problem is with the Revolutionary War history, it's really hard to find information. So,
Firestone's like one of the largest libraries. They have a lot of primary, like, first sources.
does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, it's Princeton
I
University.
mean, and there were revolutionary
Yeah.
conflicts right there. So,
Well, so the
Because here's-
cataloging of the houses, like how are they determining like the age and everything? Like, where is this documentation?
yeah,
Are they analyzing the architecture? Like what?
in some ways, I think so.
Hey,
But a lot of it, they have historic resource, survey done in, last in
Yeah.
2007. So they're using that as a baseline. But, so I'm working with a couple of women. We identified with the help of work that Helen did like in 1990, 70, people who fought in patriots who fought in the revolution in Lower Makefield. And so, we are researching those men. We're having a rough time of it. Some have lots of information and some don't. And,
what kind of information do you have on them? Do you have like their regiments or anything, or just their names?
we have their names.
Mhm.
We think they're accurate. And so that's where like sometimes the spelling is throwing us off, but we we sometimes have birth and death dates.
Mhm.
We sometimes know where they lived and who their family members were. And, you know, contributions that they did in the war. But most of the men who fought were, they basically, they were,
This was farm.
they were associate. So which means they didn't really leave. They fought locally when they needed, they mostly spent their time harassing
So they were like part of
loyalists.
the Minutemen?
No, because Minutemen travel too. Yeah, they just stayed locally.
Okay.
And so, when Washington came here, he really needed our men because his was sorely lacking at that point.
Fascinating. A lot to digest. And even the trees, like, do we know how old these trees are? Like, there's a
No,
lot of
we don't
history.
even know how old the walls of the cemetery are.
Some effort should be made. There's a lot of history in trees as well. right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. Well, did Monica tell you about the Franklinia tree? There is a rare species tree in the cemetery. We don't know how it got there. It's not even, it shouldn't be in this area. And
Planted there by someone.
it is named Franklinia after Benjamin Franklin. He's not the one who invented it. It was a friend of his, but we have one of those and the tree is not well. And it is dying. And Monica took a couple samplings and she's trying to regrow, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. But there's like all this unique out of the box thinking
Yeah.
about a lot of, especially what Cathy and Monica are doing.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to Philadelphia historic. Yeah. I wish they would have given us at least a screenshot of page 1 because it could be the DAR transcript, although it doesn't have the map. Yeah. Yeah, I might. Yeah, so that'll be an interesting.
There's another board, too, historical commission.
From Lower
Th-
Makefield
This
Society.
is the historical.
We're the commission, there's a society as well.
Isn't there like an architecture too? Are you guys affiliated?
A historic, I'm not sure because I'm not really working on that part of the project.
Local Architectural Review Board.
There's still time.
Make the world a better place. He doesn't want to be there. Thanks for coming. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting. I go, so.